Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another quarantine edition of MTG Study Hall. I am your host, Brett, and I'm joined by my co-hosts, Dave, JC, and Lily. We also have Tam on the mic, and before we get rolling, I'm going to kick it over to Tam to do the bookkeeping. Tam?
Thanks, Brett. If you like the show and you want to listen to more of the podcast, make sure you go out and check us out for daily content on Facebook, more videos on YouTube, enrolling at Patreon. We're on a bunch of podcast streaming services like iTunes, SoundCloud, Spotify. So get out there and rate us 5 stars if you like it. If not, that's totally cool too. But one of the coolest things you can do is share by or grow us by sharing with your friends. That would be really, really awesome. And I want to give a big shout out to Dave and Brett for continuing on, and we're trying to do some new stuff at twitch.tv/TCGU University. I've done a lot of housekeeping with keeping things organized and scheduled. So go out there, hit us a follow, drop us a Twitch Prime if you've got it. And yeah, do all that awesome, cool stuff. Lastly, big shout outs to our Patreon sponsors, Addy, Andrew Dang, Anthony Albino, Chris Miner, Clay Cardwell, Jay Rogers, Jarrett Hubbard, Josh Stone, Justin Forst, Cass Maria, Kevin Broberg, Lucinda Letica, Okamawa, ooh, that one was hard, Paul Casagrande, Samantha Stevens, Teodoro Ruiz, and Tyler Zampies. Big shout outs, guys. Thank you so much. And then our sponsors, Nuclear Ink Gaming, Cards Custom Build, and Inked Gaming. We'll talk about those later.
Did you said Nuclear Ink Gaming, Nuclear Ink Tattoo.
That's what did I say?
Gaming. Which, yeah, I think you have gaming on the mind. But
Nuclear
we should
Ink
also
Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop.
He has changed, he's changed to be doing just like commission art stuff while his store's closed. So I don't know if we want to reflect that.
Oh,
but.
Yeah, no, that I don't. We should. I mean, I'm assuming the link. I'm assuming if you go to Nuclear Ink's social media, you'd get the link there. But yeah, if Jesse's doing commission art and you're looking for that, you should definitely kick him some work because he's a great guy. And yeah, probably running a tattoo shop is hard when you have to socially distance. I feel like that's probably not something you can do when you can't, be near other people. So yeah, definitely do that. That would be super awesome because Jesse's a great guy. So, okay, we are here. We are here to talk about Ikoria. Before we launch into more Ikoria talk, let's talk about what we've been doing in Magic this past week. So while stuck in our homes, what have you been doing? Dave, what have you been doing?
I've been doing the Pauper to Plenty on the arena. So we're streaming nightly, starting normally at 1 a.m., going till about 4 a.m. Central Time. It is a slow fucking grind. I think it might be a bit ambitious, but I haven't given up yet. We've been doing the cube on there too, and I am so burnt out on playing mono red.
Yeah, I feel you. Really quick question. Are you trying to get every card in arena or every standard card?
Every card.
Oh boy.
I have a Bladewing the Risen.
Well, that's good.
Probably.
You need that one to get the collection, so good on you. Lily, what have you been doing?
I have been losing my mind over spoilers and also making progress on the custom set based around our roleplay stuff.
Oh god, I didn't know. I knew you were working a custom set. What game are you doing? Or just in
all
general?
Of them. It's you'll see. It's gonna be cool.
Oh man, yeah, and it combines 3 of my favorite things: Magic, role-playing games, and myself. So I am particularly interested in that. I don't know if our audience is going to, but I certainly care.
I've sent you stuff from it, right?
Not recently. You've sent me stuff in the past, but definitely send me stuff, and particularly send me anything me-related, because again, very self-centered. So big fan of that. JC, what have you been doing?
Besides absolutely adoring all the Ikoria art, like these beautiful, beautiful creatures, like I'm so pleased and so jazzed with all the these nightmare creations that are adorable. Like honestly, I see why they made some of them like kaiju and stuff like that, because I could very well see the criticism of this set being called too cute for monsters. But past that, I've actually been watching some of Dave's play. I am also very much a night owl, so I've popped in on a few of his streams, and other than that, caught some videos and stuff like that too. So it's getting kind of a little bit of the bug in me. So I might end up playing some myself. We'll see.
I'm
Okay.
realizing that it's probably just the worst speedrun ever. So
Kinda,
if any of you want to race me, I'm down with that. If you want to spot me like a week and some change.
Yeah, I like that idea. If anyone wants to dedicate themselves to free to playing the entirety of Arena and trying to do it faster than Dave, if you could pull that off, I feel like you deserve a prize. Like, you'd have to literally record all of it so you can prove you didn't pay for anything. But yeah, I'd chip in for a prize for that if somebody manages to pull it off.
I
And-
mean,
and-
there's
and calls us out.
there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting more Magic content on Twitch. So if you all out there want to make some Twitch streams and get this done, and just link back to us, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And so speaking of Twitch, what I've been doing is I did Brawling with Brett yesterday. So we started around 6:30 Central Time, and it's turning into probably a 2-hour long show. Yesterday I was
One more game.
yesterday I was doing the very professional thing of eating while I played because dinner came halfway through the stream, and which allowed me, instead of going like, I'm really hungry, so I'm going to stop playing, to just go, yeah, let's do another game. So hopefully that wasn't absolutely disgusting. I was trying to like lean off the screen and eat, and I don't really know if that worked. So yeah, if that was the most disgusting thing you've ever experienced, I'm so sorry. But it was a lot of fun. And something I want to start doing is, if people want to direct challenge me to brawl while we're doing Brawling with Brett, I will absolutely battle you. I would ask that you turn off the stream so you don't get to see my hand, but we'll just do Scout's honor on that. But if anyone wants to challenge me during the show, I would be super down. So Brawling with Brett and checking out spoilers is what I've been doing, and let's keep the spoiler talk going with topic 1. We're going to be talking about Ikoria spoilers. To open us up, let's just pick 1 or 2 cards that have been spoiled since last week. And just talk about it. So, JC, why don't you bring up? You get 2 cards that you're really super excited about.
All right, let me talk about the foxes. 2 cards that I really think are jazzy that I like are Farfinder. It is a colorless 3-mana fox that has vigilance. When it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, and put it into your hand. Shuffle your library. It's adorable. It's like this tiny fox familiar. Let me just throw it up on screen. Hold please. Hold please here. We're gonna do this we're gonna do it live.
I'm frantically looking for names, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to make sure I'm ready when it's my turn. There we go. Okay.
Sorry, very, very good podcast silence there. But yes,
yeah.
this
good
is
radio.
this is Farfinder here. Is this little fox familiar? Looks like it's got Christmas lights around its neck. It's mutated like everything else, so it's got the antlers. It's got a cool effect. It is colorless. It is a 1/1. Very jazzed about this card. Much like. So the other card. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say, you said 2 foxes. I was going to ask what the second fox was.
2 foxes. Zerda the Dawn Waker. Zerda the Dawn Waker. Jeez. It's just awesome. It's a majestic fox. Like what can I say? Look at that. Look at that. The companion ability is pretty doable. Each permanent card in your starting deck has an activated ability that is super doable, especially in like kind of singleton formats and stuff like that. And its ability of the abilities you activate that aren't mana abilities cost 2 less to activate. Spec can't reduce the mana to cost to less than 1 mana. And also, this very fun target creature can't block this turn. 3/3 companion. So these are the 2 that I'm very excited about.
When I first saw that card, I was like, why does it have this weird kind of tapped out ability? It doesn't seem to fit in with the rest of the card. It's like, oh yeah, it needs an activated ability so it can be in the deck. Like, I don't think the companions have to follow their own rules, but if you want to run multiples, ideally, I'd imagine you'd probably want to be able to run more of the companions. So, yeah,
True.
I really like that card. Oh, go ahead.
No, yeah, I was gonna say maybe that's one of my few critiques of the card is like the tap down ability doesn't quite make sense, I guess, from like a art perspective or from like a creature type perspective or anything like that. But yeah, I'm glad it's following its own rules.
Yeah,
because
I feel like
that makes sense.
It probably needed something. So yeah, I feel like some of these companion abilities are really close to like not being like that much of a hoop to jump through. And so something I wanted to pitch out before I forget about it is like, so the one that says like you can only have one of like, it's like one pip in your casting cost of each color. So you can have like green, black, but you can't have green, green.
The elk.
Is that which one is that?
I think it's the elk.
That's the red green elk element.
Okay. Now my question is like, so that's not, so somebody on Reddit was like, well, Infect already does that. Is it good enough? Is having a 8th card in your hand, even if it doesn't like fit in with the rest of your deck like Infect, is that worth trading out a sideboard slot for in competitive formats?
So I think that's a bad example, because like that card just doesn't play with Infect's game plan at all, even a little bit. Like it's attacking a totally different life total. It's a 5-mana creature. Like it makes mana.
But like my question is like, would it be constructed worthy to be, so let's say you're playing Infect in Modern and somebody says, hey, here's a card that says you have 14 cards in your sideboard, but here's a 5/5 vanilla 5/5 for 5. Yeah, I think here's a vanilla 5/5 for 5 that you can have in your hand for the whole game for the only cost of that. Like, it's not ideally what Infect wants to be doing, but sometimes Infect wins with the Dryad Arbor beatdown.
That's
so like, is that worth doing in like a constructed format where it doesn't fit your deck's theme, but you happen to meet the companion ability? Like, I'm really curious to see, does anyone have any thoughts? Because like, I'm kind of thinking maybe it is worth it, but I'm also bad at Magic.
I think it's going to depend on how important sideboards are in the given format. Like, I think there are formats where sideboards are less important than other ones. Like, I don't think any format that's running Infect, I don't think that's going to be worth taking a card out of your sideboard.
Okay. Dave, what do you think? You're better at Magic than I am.
That is an ambitious statement. I think Lily's right on that one. It's definitely going to depend on whether or not it's worth that sideboard slot. Like, I think the other thing to look at is going to be exactly how powerful it is. If that card's winning you a lot of games just on the back of itself, then okay, I could probably see that being played. But
I do want to point out that it's a 5/5 for 5, and its companion limitation is not hard to meet. Mm-hmm. Honestly, you can build a pretty easy curve around that. You don't have to have, multiple color pips to get that done.
And like I completely agree. And I feel like if you start looking at modern deck lists, you're going to start running into decks that just meet this criteria already. And if you look at your deck, like an 8th card in your hand seems like a really big deal, even if it's just a vanilla creature. So like, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking we might start seeing a world where these are just showing up everywhere.
Well, there's still a real cost to this, though. I mean, you're still playing with a 14-card sideboard. Unless that could make a difference. I certainly played plenty of tournaments where there were like 5 cards in my sideboard I never boarded into, but that could be misreading the meta, or that could be the fact I just never played against those decks, or maybe I was just wrong about the sideboard card. But it is still a real cost.
Yeah, no, I mean, it certainly is. I'm really excited to see like Pro Tour deck lists after this, because I'm really, because I'm not going to sit here and like practice all the games and see, okay, if I play 100 games and I have this card in 100 games and I don't, how's it go? Like, I'm not going to do that testing, but they will. And so I'm really keen to see how the pros end up doing with that, because I think we might quickly see if this mechanic was a mistake in a few months after Ikoria is out and we start seeing Eternal format deck lists.
Right. I'm actually really curious to see if pros actually play with any of the companions. I want to know how they're using them and stuff like that. I mean, I think all of them are, they're all quality cards. None of them are particularly bad. Most of them are serviceable to good. And I don't think a lot of the restrictions that they place are particularly damning. I think most I've seen.
I think the odd and even ones that's a pretty big commitment for the 8th card, but those cards also are pretty impactful. I'm also not, Greg, every one of these I've seen, I'm like, oh, that's a lot of hoops to jump through, or that seems like it limits your deck building, but I'm also not much of a deck builder. I generally take other people's lists and tweak a little bit, but I don't do a ton of deck building, so I don't think my assessment on these, I'm not putting a lot of stock into my own personal assessment, but companion is a weird mechanic.
It's rewarding, though. Like, people like these deck building limitations. People enjoy building around limitations. It encourages a lot of creativity and deck.
That's what I do with commander decks anyway. But like, I don't think it'll be a problem. I do not think they would make a card that like literally. So I mean, with the elk, right? 5/5 for 5 is just not good.
But if it's the eighth card in your hand, what if it is? That's the thing. I just don't know. I don't know. I don't have any problems with companion. I'm hoping it doesn't like turn. I hope they don't show up too much. I hope it's not like they're just in every modern deck, so every modern deck just has an extra random creature. So like I hope they found that right balance. I agree. I think it's really exciting, but I think this is going to be the mechanic to really watch this set that might do stuff.
I will agree with you that I think that if there is the right card, it becomes not okay. It's way too unbalanced, like the Otter.
In Commander, the Otter in Commander was just way too far.
And that might end up being the same case with Brawl later.
And the Otter,
because it wasn't banned in Brawl, right?
It was
preemptively banned. It was banned in Brawl too.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they.
Well, that's withdrawn then.
Yeah.
So I do think Cat Mom is going to be that one that JC is showing. I think that's going to make a splash in other formats.
Yep, that is why I'm showing it.
Yeah, I think that's very high on the list of potential offenders.
Because
there's already a modern cat, right?
Yeah, a 3/2 for 3 that gives vigilance and 1/1 to a bunch of different creature types is kind of cool.
No, I'm excited. I want the cards to be playable. I just hope they found that balance. Okay, anyway, that was a huge sidetrack. We were going through favorite spoilers so far, so sorry, but I was really wanting to talk about Companion with y'all this week. So, Lily, 2 cards you're excited about.
Okay. Well, yeah, 2 cards. Let me get back to the spoiler. Sorry, I was on the spoiler. I'm just paging back over. First, the Ozolith.
Oh God, yeah.
Is that 1 mana artifact that whenever a creature you control leaves the battlefield, if it had counters on it, put those counters on the Ozolith, and then if you upkeep, you can throw all counters on it onto a target creature. It's a 1 mana legendary artifact.
Yeah,
love it.
That card seems really scary.
Oh my gosh, like it's all those stuff that like put -1/-1 counters on your own guys, and then like stuff happens, right? When they die, the -1s go to the Ozolith, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, you can put those on your opponent's creature.
Oh wait, you can do those onto opponents?
You can, you only get them onto it from yours, but you can put them on any creature you want.
Oh wow.
So like that elf, that dumb combo elf is just like, oh, well, I guess I'm gonna make 3 mana and put 3 counters on this and counter whatever, or I guess 2 mana, but I'm gonna just deal with whatever you play on your turn 3. So,
and I seriously love the name of this card too, the Ozolith.
Right.
That's amazing.
The art is dope too. I love the art. It's a big ass like crystal spiraling out of like the wilderness that has like all this. It's so cool.
I think
that's the first card.
I think it's also book relevant. I haven't gotten to the book yet because I'm still.
I hope the legendary named artifact that plays with all the sets mechanic is book relevant.
I hope so too.
But that's one, and then the second is the first green-blue legendary creature I've been excited about in a while, which is, sorry, I'm getting back to them. They just got spoiled recently. Keenan Bonder Prodigy. That's the 2/2 for green-blue, that whenever you tap a non-land permanent for mana, add 1 mana of any type that permanent produced. So it's like the Heartbeat of Spring effect, but for your non-lands, which is a cool overlap of the way that green and blue both care about mana. And then you can pay 7, so 5 blue-white, 5 blue-green, and look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put a non-human creature card from among them onto the battlefield, put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order.
That's a hell of a mana sink.
Oh, it is. But I also like, so it's a green-blue legendary that doesn't have the word land or draw a card on it.
To be pedantic, it does have land. It's just non-land.
Listen here. I think we all like drawing cards.
I hate that that's been every legendary green-blue creature for like...
I think they just ran out of space on the card to add in draw a card.
I swear to God.
Yeah, they're gonna errata that in.
But no, like I'm super down. I'm probably gonna build a commander deck with them, and all of my creatures are going to be beasties. I'm not even gonna do like elves, even though they're non-humans. I'm like, this is a monster bonder guy. He's gonna be a commander, and he's gonna be like the only humanoid.
if you put Workhorse in this deck, you're not allowed to bring it into my house.
I'm not going to put Workhorse in this deck.
Okay.
Workhorse would be bad for this deck. It's not going to work well with it.
I'm going to do door check.
Oh, actually,
No.
it's tap. It's tap. So no, you're right.
Okay. It is okay. I was going to say, you're not allowed to bring that card into my house anymore.
Also, worth mentioning, I just got more excited about those cards than anything else I've seen. Did you see the lands?
Yes. Yes,
Oh
the
my
lands,
God.
the art on those is super cool. But you had your 2, so it is
Yeah.
to Dave. I don't think you hit push to duck, Dave. I just see lips moving.
Man, I just said all those things and nothing. Okay. So I think we all know what I'm excited for, and let's say it together. Ultimatums.
Okay.
Ultimatums. Tom was messaging in our group chat earlier, or I guess yesterday, whatever the word. And our general consensus was it's looking like Eerie Ultimatum has the potential to just break a format wide in half.
And Dave's not kidding. I came back to my phone and saw 107 unread messages in that chat.
It alternated
from that
between
conversation.
it alternated between us trying to brew some hypothetical deck playing Eerie Ultimatum and what my thoughts are on the Ocean dub of Dead Zone. Very favorable for those that need to know.
Wait,
But
what format?
for Eerie Ultimatum, specifically Standard, we think that this could actually be some sort of contender with Standard.
Ooh,
And what we were throwing around is potentially with Fires of Invention, but then you run into a lot of various issues with. Thank you, JC. So it's definitely kind of a drawback that return any number of permanent cards with different names from your graveyard to the battlefield. So that's not just creatures. Like, we could do all sorts of fun things with this.
Yeah.
And five colors seems like it could potentially be a thing. We're already in the colors for Doom Foretold, and that feels like something that could be pretty good to recur.
Oh, heck
things.
yeah.
But the problem that you're going to run
the
into,
elk.
the problem that we're going to be running into is going to be that there are certain cards that we just need to have as a 4 of in that deck. So what cards are we going to be playing as a 4 of? Is it worth it to play them as a 4 of? Is it worth it to play that stupid Otter as a card in our sideboard for Standard? And then, because obviously we're going to be 5 color, fixing should be relatively good in Standard currently, based on all the dual lands and now knowing that we have these tri-lands too.
God, yeah.
It's going to be something that I'm definitely going to want to try and brew up, and hopefully I might end up just doing that on my main account and continuing the grind for Pauper to Peasant, and then just start streaming some failed attempts at brewing this, because we're going to fail a lot. Mark my words, though, this card's happening. We're making this card happen. It's just happening. We have to make this card happen. There's no two ways about it. Look at it. The mana symbols are fantastic. We have triple black sorcery with other colored sources in it. It has an incredibly powerful effect. This card is easily what has me the most hyped right now about Ikoria.
Can I just point out that flavor text is amazing?
I didn't even look at it. Like, I stopped reading it after what it did and went, "Oh, this is incredible. Let's read it together."
Yeah. So
The ground under our feet.
is please go.
The ground under our feet is a record of every slight against the world, to be avenged at a time of its choosing. On board. So on board.
Okay. Well, that's one card, Dave. What's the second one?
Well, I suppose the Sultai Ultimatum might be the one that takes less work to make good. Let me figure out what the heck the name of that stupid one was. But it's I guess kind of a variant of Gifts Ungiven is what it felt like.
It's Gifts Ungiven on crack.
Yes, I'll take 2 extra turns. Thank you.
All right, so search your library for up to 3 monocolored cards with different names and exile them. An opponent chooses one of those cards. Shuffle that card into your library. You may cast the other cards without paying their mana cost. Exile Emergent Ultimatum. So the first thing I'm seeing about this card is they figured out we need to have this exiled afterwards because there's going to be some recursive bullshit people. Like the first thing that one's mind goes to is, all right, cool. How do we recur this? Well, you can't in Standard, so that's a good thing. We don't have like Runic Repetition or something like that. I don't even know if Runic I think I'm messing up the name real bad for some reason. I need more coffee or less coffee, one of the two.
Aldemine.
Yeah. I think Coldamine, yeah. I thought it was Ruinic Repetition was the card from...
That's the one that gets him back from exile if they have flashback.
If they have flashback. Okay, so yeah, that doesn't work then. But there's definitely the drawback of that you exile it, but whatever, I guess we play our sweet value spell just the one time. And the fact that they have to be monocolored cards is also somewhat of a drawback, but there are plenty of monocolored cards in Standard that you're going to want to play anyway. There are going to be degenerate things done with this card. The fact that it's, again, a 7-mana sorcery that has 7 mana symbols in it tells me that it's not going to be overly easy to cast.
And I want to say, Lily, you saying let's get 2 free extra turns? You're thinking too small. 3 free extra turns.
Okay,
But are we going to time stretch too?
But I'm going to put expropriate back into your fucking deck.
Okay, no, time stretch.
Okay.
Any take an extra turn spell.
Right.
And that red sorcery that, like, when you cast your next instant or sorcery, copy it twice.
Bonus round?
I think there's one that was Planeswalker loyalty ability, instant or sorcery. I think there's a red and 2 sorcery from the last 4 set.
True.
3 turns or 4. So yeah, you get expropriate and time wipe, and then that. There you go. That one's for free.
It's 3 turns because if you hit the double copy spell or if you hit the 2 extra turn spells, it's only 3 extra turns.
Unless if you do, or is expropriate the one where you vote, the will of the council?
That's the one where you vote. So it basically gets you an extra turn and 3 things from your opponent if they are playing right.
Or you get. Oh god. So anyway,
no, you always give them one of your things. Don't ever fucking vote for extra turn. I swear to God, it's the wrong play every time. Because here's why: extra turn effects, just 1 extra turn on like a 10-mana spell. Okay, whatever. I use this turn, I get an extra turn. I got a couple things. Basically, it was a free steal spell. 2 extra turns in a row without spending additional mana on the next turn is where things get degenerate.
Okay, yeah, I wouldn't disagree. But okay, let's post-show talk about garbage things we can do with that card, because I think there's a lot of garbage things we can do with that card. Quickly, my favorite so far, Kelsine the Plague. Now, this is from the Commander set. Generally, I don't build decks that double up on colors, but I might have to build a second Mardu deck. So Kelsine the Plague is one of the commanders.
The assassin.
Yeah, so it's the human assassin. It's a assassin, vigilance and haste, and Kelsine the Plague gets +1/+1 for each experience counter you have, and then you can tap it to deal 1 damage to target creature you don't control, and then when that creature dies this turn, you get an experience counter. So there's plenty we can run a couple other experience counter cards in that deck. Basilisk Collar, it gets nasty. I love Pyromancer, like ping effects. I love giving those Death Touch. There's all these Death Touch tokens. And then if you get Thornbite Staff, you just get, and if you get Basilisk Collar and Thornbite Staff, you get to just win the game probably and kill all of them.
I mean, those together already almost that's like 2 kill a thing already.
It's even more killier, so I'm super excited.
Also, the only experience cards you get to run are Daxos and
the Giant.
Thailand, right? Yeah.
Yeah, which I think are both probably the Giant is worth it. Somebody was talking about on Reddit, like, even if you don't run that many creatures with power 5 or with CMC 5 or greater, like, if you've got 3, 4, 5 experience counters built up and then you slam that card, it's just an enormous double striker. So like that seems fine. And like there's enough human tribal stuff that I might try to build like Kelsine human tribal. So excited for this card. And then keeping it on Mardu theme, I want to talk about Ruinous Ultimatum, which is red, white, black sorcery. And the text is destroy all non-land permanents your opponents control. And I can't sum this up any better than one of the first Reddit comments I saw on this was, that text box is my kink. Because yeah. And we have some lovely flavor text again. Strike those abominations down, let their names rot with their remains, from our good friend General Kudrow. And it is the reverse of borrowing 10,000 arrows. It is 100,000 arrows. It is receiving 100,000 arrows, if you look at that art. So super excited about this card.
I think we called it improved Plague Winds.
Yeah, it does a lot, and it makes the Jund ultimatum back from Alara look like actual garbage. More so than the card already did.
Not
That's
worse
because
than the
Violent
Bant
Ultimatum
one.
was bad. The Bant one is also incredibly I think that was the one that we decided was really, really bad for Commander in general.
Yeah, so
For obvious reasons.
the Bant one, at least you could do something with it in Constructed. Like, it wasn't good. It was still too much of an investment. See, I think Wizards is... So, like, I love that they completed this cycle, but really what they did was they gave us 5 new sweet cards to go alongside Cruel Ultimatum and the Esper one.
Brilliant
Because
ultimatum.
Yeah, Brilliant Ultimatum. Because now I feel like they need to redo the crappy ultimatums, and we're going to live in this horrifying cycle of trying to make Commander playable ultimatums that will never end.
No, sir. I think
Wait,
you can
wait.
absolutely
So-
play the Naya ultimatum.
The Naya was fine. I just don't think it's as good as these new ones.
So like the Brilliant Ultimatum kind of is not as good as the Sultai one, and they're super similar.
Well, I mean, the Sultai one is, yeah, Give Sun Given on crack, and the Esper one
It's
is...
Fact or Fiction on crack.
Yeah, which I have a special place in my heart for Fact or Fiction. Yes, the Sultai one is better, but Brilliant I don't think exiles. Now I'm checking that.
I
Yeah,
believe
it
it
does.
doesn't.
Sure
Oh, it
does.
does?
Oh, it doesn't exile itself.
Doesn't exile
Okay.
itself. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I remember good old Ricky P was playing that, was trying to play a Brilliant Ultimatum deck for regionals when that was still in standard. And that was so much fun playing against it and seeing it go off. Because I was being a complete troll and I was playing Counter Squall in the main deck.
What is Counter Squall?
Counter Squall is a negate, but hotter. It's 1 black, 1 blue, counter target non-creature spell, and its controller loses 2.
Oh, okay. That seems like the kind of card you'd run, Dave.
Yes. It is incredible. Real good.
I mean,
Okay.
it's no Blightning, but
It is no Blightning. We were playing that card in that deck too.
Oh, of course you were. Really quick, Tam, what's our... I forgot a stopwatch. You want to tell me our time really quick? I want to keep an eye on that. Because I feel like we could talk about Ikoria spoilers for a really long time.
You guys
Yeah,
are
we're
you
real
guys
good.
are good.
Okay. Do we want to move on to topic 2, or is there anything else we want to talk about Ikoria? We'll have the whole set for the next... we'll have the whole set tomorrow, Friday. And so for next show, we will actually be able to talk about every card in the set. And I think it will have gone live the day we record. It will. It will be available on Arena a week from today, day of recording. It will be available on Thursday the 16th. So we can definitely talk more Ikoria then. Does anyone have anything else they want to bring up before we roll on to our next topic?
can we talk about the lands real quick?
Let's talk about the lands.
Yes.
So we have wedge lands. They are each land type. So the Jeskai one is an island, mountain, plains. They all come into play tapped, and they all have cycling for 3 colorless. And they also have sweet alternate arts. Has everyone seen the arts on these?
Oh heck yes, they're so pretty.
JC, can you bring those arts up? Is that okay?
Yep, I'm working on.
Okay, thank you so much. Because yeah, those got spoiled just a little bit before the podcast started. I'm looking at them right now. They're the Triome lands, and I'm just, oh my gosh, they're so good looking.
My favorite
Oh.
design element. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
My favorite design element is they just took the basic lands with 2 land types with cycling for 2 from Amonkhet, and they just added 1 to the cycling and added a land subtype.
Yeah, I mean, they're not the most creative thing ever. Jason,
They don't
I'm gonna
need to be.
Send you an image if you are having a hard time finding one. I've got one pulled up on my phone. Oh, there you go. You got it right there. But no, I think they're awesome. I'd rather have these than the remaining 5 from the cycle lands or the bicycle lands from Amonkhet. I think these are better. I'm excited for the mana bases. I mean, there's going to be some garbage 5 colors something. I'm sure Dave just talked about dedicating his life to making sure garbage 5 colors something happens in standard. But I think there's going to be some sweet 3 color decks, and so I'm excited.
Mispronounced 5-color bullshit.
Fair enough. My one gripe on the design of these is I know that they need to put the reminder text on the normal printing. I wish this version didn't have the basic land reminder text.
That's fair. The text box is smaller though, right?
It is smaller. I mean, it could be even smally.
It could. I will say as like a counterpoint to the normal, it is too many words to be bad. For lands, if there is too few words on it to be bad.
Yeah, no, that's a fair assessment. Apparently, like early in the morning on Reddit, like these kind of got leaked a little early. There's somebody on like I think it was on like 4chan months ago who leaked Narset, talked about Mutate, and talked about these lands. So some insider spoiled some stuff. But on Reddit this morning,
it's nice to know that 4chan's still relevant sometimes.
I guess, yeah. But somebody on Reddit like mocked these lands up, except they didn't say come into play tapped, which is about the most absurd thing. But that actually got me thinking. Because like I got a bunch of text. It's like I got like 4 texts, boom, 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 boom from Cat. It's like the lands are previewed, what they're coming to play untapped. Okay, these are fake. And I'm like, that's a way to get around the problem of alpha and beta duels. Just bring cards strictly better than them.
Ones?
Yeah.
All right. So here's the thing.
Also, that power creep.
Yeah.
Listen here, Brett. I think that the value of Wasteland would skyrocket if they ended up printing those.
I mean, it would ruin the color restrictions in any format those are legal in. Oh my gosh.
So, sorry, Dave, go ahead.
Oh no, that's fine.
I did. I don't know how many months ago it was, but I think I said at one point, Brett, what if they just printed lands with these basic land types that came into play tabbed? Like, would they be playable? Like the free type lands?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't remember exactly what I said, but even before saying these, I feel like even without the cycling, they'd be as playable as the panoramas were. Previously.
Not the panoramas,
or not the panoramas.
The cycle lands from Amonkhet.
No, I was going to say without cycling, they're as good as just the Jeskai, the named Shard and Wedge lands, just like Bant,
right?
Citadel or something, Seaside Citadel.
Crumbling Necropolis,
the Tri-lands?
Sabbath Land, Tri-lands. There we go.
So they'd be that playable. These seem really playable to me. Just putting cycling on a land seems playable to me.
Oh heck yeah.
Like we had the cycle lands from Amonkhet, and they saw play in Standard. I think they still see play in Pioneer. So these are definitely going to be cards that someone's going to want to play in Pioneer. I'm not sure which deck, but there will be one.
See, I feel like they aren't going to overwhelm in Pioneer because generally I feel like Shock Check is superior to a mana base that includes these.
Well,
I
don't think that you're going to want to play 4 of it. Like I believe that there is some Sultai value deck that exists in Pioneer, and it might want 1 or 2 of these because I don't think that you max out on them, but I think you play some numbers.
Yeah, so somebody pointed out that Sultai mid-range / Delirium is basically Pioneer's Jund. So I could see that deck running a couple of these. Just the deck that if the game goes long, you just turn them into something relevant. And if you're doing Delirium, it's another card type in the yard too, early game if you need it. So I think we're going to see some Pioneer play. I'm curious if modern control decks are going to want are these much better? Is there a point where you want this in your deck over a Shock in Modern?
Potentially. I mean, if you're in a 3-color deck, if you're playing, again, some Sultai deck, I don't think that any Mardu decks are really going to want it because I think it's a real cost that it comes into play tap. But like Sultai, you could probably get around. Again, I don't think that you max out on it because you don't even max out on Shocklands in a lot of decks in Modern either.
Yeah.
And depending on what the matchup is, like the fact that you can fetch it out, I think that's the huge part right there. The fact you can use that with Shocklands makes it almost... It almost feels like it might be legacy playable, but that's kind of ambitious too. Like, I don't think you want to play. I don't think you want to play.
Sorry.
Oh no, JC, what's up?
No, real sorry. I just think you had a really good point there. I don't think you max out on Shocklands ever, and I also don't think you max out on these. But I think the real value in that is you can play these with the Shocklands, and you can do some interesting things with your color at that point.
Yeah, no, I think if you're in a fetch land format, I think this does give you some cool stuff. And let's be honest, Commander loves these to death. Commander, you're already running just the 3-color tap lands, generally speaking, and unless you're playing really tuned, I think you run those in 3-color decks. And so these are just better. And even if you aren't running fetch lands in Commander, which a lot of people do, if people have 1 or 2 random fetch lands, they'll run them. But there's a lot of cards that go get basic land types in Commander. So all the new stuff that goes and gets planes, like that Hawk that goes and gets planes, can go and get these. And there's several. I mean, I'm trying to think. What's the green-white land that everybody runs that goes gets
Murmuring Boss? No, this is the second fetchable Absan land, though.
Yes. Oh gosh, because Murmuring Bosk exists. But I'm talking about the land that
Crocian Verge.
Crocian Verge. So yeah, it's a super.
You can now get 5 colors off of 2 lands with Crocian Verge,
which is super awesome. So yeah, this is. I really love these for Commander a lot, and I'm hoping. I'm assuming in the next 3 years we're going back to Alara, and if we do, I'd love to see the other half of these.
Like
Oh, go ahead, Dave.
I was just going to make a bad joke. I was going to say, I agree wholeheartedly, Brett. I would absolutely play these as 1-ofs in Commander decks, too.
Well, thank you for that riveting additional insight, Dave. Okay, we're going to do, I think we're going to wrap up Ikoria now. We talked about lands. Anything else before we move on from Ikoria till next week?
I just have one more point about these lands. With the shout out to Japan with the kaiju cards, we also have a shout out to Japan with this particular art style. It's a lot like Japanese watercolor and cell shading. That reminds you a lot of Okami and some other games like that. I think it's absolutely gorgeous, and I think it's definitely a shout out to Japanese art styles. Especially look at that Zagoth Triumph.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very comic booky, but also very like manga-y. Very anime.
Yeah,
style.
very manga, very like watercolor. It's really cool. It's a really cool art style. So I'm very jazzed about it.
I've been really kind of leaning away from collector's packs because they're just so damn expensive. But these are it's like, but there's so many things I want in them. So that's my struggle.
Reminds
but
me
I can't buy any
Borderlands.
paper. So what's that, Lily?
Reminds me a lot of Borderlands.
Yeah, no, that's love
fair.
this.
Yeah.
I love this art style. Okay, so we're going to kick it to a quick commercial break, and then we will be back to talk control finishers. So, kick that over to the commercial break. Pow.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the ads. Thank you so much to our sponsors, Inked Gaming, Nuclear Ink Tattoos, and Cards Custom Build. Are you looking to get a custom playmat? Well, then we suggest you check out inkedgaming.com. They have custom playmats, dice bags, mouse pads, and much, much more. You guys gotten anything from Inked Gaming?
Not yet, but I keep meaning to. I've got 2 Magic playmats as my current gaming setup, and but one of my Innistrad Championship mat which I didn't win, I just got as a prize. Is super chewed up. So I'm getting close to needing something new.
If you guys want, I have designed some chalkboard TCGU sponsored player mats. I could shoot you over the pictures and you can just go get them on there.
I might do that for like my actual going to tournaments and playing mat. That sounds cool.
They even let you add a stitched option to the playmat and mouse pads as well. Ink Gaming lets you play your game with your style. Like I said, you can do the custom images. You can either go out and find an artist to get you something, or you can design it and send it in, and they work with you, your style, your game. If you want 10% off your order, use the code TCG University, all caps, no spaces at checkout. Help support us by customizing your game to your style. Big shout outs to Inked Games.
Yes, and like I said, my playmat's getting chewed up. It's because it doesn't have the stitched thing. I have a couple stitched edge playmats, and they are awesome.
Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. This episode is also sponsored by Nuclear Ink Custom Tattoo and Skate Shop. At Nuclear Ink, you can find a very inclusive environment with artists that share your interest in nerd culture and fandoms alike. You guys have any tattoos?
No, but if I get one, Jesse down at Nuclear Ink is going to be doing it.
For sure.
If I get one, he's doing it.
What about you?
Oh, just the one.
Which is?
It's got just a little kanji here.
Oh, that's really rad.
Kenshin's dope.
What is the kanji for?
It's the symbol for evil and misfortune.
Okay.
Well, I want a Legend of Zelda tattoo. Nuclear Ink prides themselves on being Omaha's premier all-custom tattoo shop. So if you're looking to get a custom tattoo, please check out Nuclear Ink here in Omaha, Nebraska. Link will be in the description. Jesse seems like a really chill guy, and if you're looking to get anything custom, you should definitely chit-chat with him. He'd love to conversate with you so that you are 100% happy with anything that you decide to put on your body for the rest of your life.
Super good people. Really can't recommend them enough.
And then the last sponsor for today is Cards Custom Build. Are you into cosplay, you nerd? Of course you are. You looking to get into cosplay? Of course you are. Do you want to show up to events dressed as your favorite character? Well, then Cards Custom Build is here to help. Cards Custom Build creates everything from cosplay accessories like props, trinkets, and weaponry, all the way up to full-blown costumes. I asked you guys last time. What do you guys want to be? You said the Mandalorian last time.
Mandalorian armor.
Yeah, my father, Clay Cardwell from Cards Custom Build, he has everything set out. He's got it all designed at like an incredibly talk of the town. I even have that in here. Talk of the town price. It's so good to take in, and just like making costumes takes a long time.
Yeah, it's really time consuming, and it takes a lot of different kind of skill sets and equipment. So like, if you're into building your own, awesome. But if you're like me and lazy, this is the way to make it happen.
I just went to Level Up Expo out in Vegas over this past weekend for a card tournament, and it was really fun just people watching all these people in their really awesome costumes. It's fun to see people transform and become somebody that they're not. It's fun seeing somebody out of costume that you think would be very timid and not hold themselves, and as soon as you put on that Superman suit, they stand up and they put their chest out. Like it's super rad, and the costume is half of that equation. So go over to Cards Custom Build either on Facebook or on their Etsy account. Links will be in the description down below. Make sure that you mention TCG University sent you their way, and you'll get 5% off your entire order. And whenever you're talking about really high level costumes, 5% is actually a ton. That could be upwards of like $50. Like honestly, if you're pushing for all the accoutrements.
If you're going for a big one, oh yeah, or save a couple bucks on something smaller. Like yeah really.
For sure.
No reason not to. If you're thinking about doing it, support local if you're here in Nebraska, and if not,
he'll ship across the whole U.S.
Support him anyway.
Support him anyway, even if you're in a different state.
Back to our show.
Okay, and welcome back. Sorry to our live viewers. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty there, but we should be good on the new stream. And yeah, there hopefully won't be any episode. You watching on YouTube don't even know what's happened on the regular show, so I don't even know I'm talking about it. We are going to talk about control finishers. And if I recall correctly, in the pre-show or in the pre-show, Lily, I think, said we had a good transition into control finishers from new Ikoria stuff. I don't remember what that transition is, so does someone want to do it?
Well, no, I mean, that was just a more nebulous statement on the fact that there are a lot of big dumb creatures in the new set. That's all that was.
Okay, so
plus we had a hard break, so we didn't need a good segue. Like
that's
totally
true. So I've already brought up things I don't need to bring up, and then completely ruined any possible segue.
I think that was completely organic. I don't see a single problem with that, Brad. That was fine. You did fine.
Really good podcasting right here. To try to pick up the burning corpse that is this beginning of this intro section. Do we have any traditional control finishers previewed in Ikoria so far? I don't think we do.
Yeah, I think there've been okay, so here's the deal. Like any conceivable like big old dumb creature with flying and some kind of other thing that draws cards or anything like that is a control finisher. Like it's super vague.
That's a really good point, because something that the title card for the episode is the Hailfire. What is it?
Tormented
Hailfire.
Right.
Thank you. I can never remember.
know, Brad.
Didn't you play that card a bunch?
I play that card all the time. But here's the thing: in my
you
head,
still play it.
Oh yes, it's like it is the only way I can win a Commander game. But in my head,
that's not true. I saw people concede to you last night.
That's Brawl. That's different. That's 1v1. But. So in my head, when I think of control finisher, I think of Esper-colored creatures that have some kind of a hexproof or flicker ability. But as Lily just pointed out, that's not the case. Actually, now that I think about it, the red Godzilla, that's also a turtle, the one that you cycle it for 1 red and 1, and if you've cycled it 4 times, you instead put it into play and it's got trample and haste. People were kind of talking about that as a potential control finisher.
Oh yeah, the one that's Shin Godzilla.
Yeah. Because you can basically do counter spells, draw cards, kill stuff, and like, oh, end of their turn, nothing. Cycle the big Godzilla guy. Okay, drew a card, and then eventually you're just like, boom, attack you with Godzilla, and then every one of if you're running 3 or 4 of those in your deck, even if they keep killing it, you just get to keep slamming in. So like that actually seems like a kind of sweet control finisher to me.
Also, does trample and haste. That's kind of a big deal.
Yeah, those are good. Those are good keywords. I like those. Those are 2 of my favorite keywords. But so yeah, let's talk. So control finishers. It is the way that a control deck closes out the game. And so, like I said, I kind of had a more narrow view in my head when we were thinking about this. Aetherling, the blue-white. Is it Dream Trawler? That's from Theros.
Yeah,
that's making
Dream
my
Trawler.
life hell. Yeah,
We can also throw in Castle Arvindale on there as well.
Okay, I mean that's the other thing. I really wasn't. I guess yeah. One of and Nephalia Drown Yard was the classic one when we had Ravnica Innistrad standard.
The Frown Yard, please.
Yeah, where the deck didn't run any creatures. It just ran counterspells and removal, and then it slowly milled them out.
Like sometimes you'd play like a one of Grave Titan. You were playing Snapcasters, but I don't think that you normally like every now and again you
Excuse me.
joke about the Goblin Piker beats gonna get there on the back of a 2/1. You rarely did.
Yeah.
Rarely, not never.
Yeah, you normally just milled them the hell out. So control finishers. So they've kind of shifted. So they clearly don't. They've straight up come out and said they don't want to make Nephalia. They don't want Nephalia ground yard decks. They don't want that to be the way that people are winning the game in standard. So Dream Trawler is, I think, is an example of a more modern one. It's a card that sometimes has evasion, and we're actually going to get onto this. Sometimes having evasion or protection or hexproof or something like that. Well, sorry, it always has evasion. It sometimes has hexproof, and so.
Well, not necessarily hexproof, but some way to protect itself. Because Aetherling didn't have hexproof, and neither did Morph. Like,
No,
hexproof is kind of the de facto form of protection now. But there are definitely other forms of protection that you can have.
And so it's also, it seemed like there was a window of time where Wizards was trying to get the control finishers to they wanted them to be the big stompy creatures. They really tried that in the course, I think it was M19 where we had the dragons. We had the Esper dragon that turned into a human and got hexproof. And that never really took off, I don't think. I don't think that saw a ton of standard play.
It saw a little bit, but it was also competing with another finisher that was one of the elder dinosaurs that had flash and had a way to protect itself by discarding 3 cards.
Yeah, because that one saw play. That's one I couldn't think of. It was in the same cycle of Zapalta and Galta.
Yeah.
The blue one. So Wizards is really keen generally on having a big creature that you have to discard cards to protect, as compared to lands or incidental things, because control decks don't want to have to run big stompy creatures. Chromium,
Right.
thank you in the chat. Thank you, Kat. Yeah, so control decks don't want to have to run Chromium. They want to run Nephalia Drown Yard. They want to run something incidental.
Stalking Stones.
Say again?
Stocking Stones being the old school win con from, I think it was called The Deck back during Tempest.
What is Stocking Stones?
It's a land taps for colorless, and then you can pay 6 to make it a 3/3 just forever.
Indefinitely.
Oh man, Magic cards are so much better now.
No. Paying 6 to animate it permanently is a 3/3, like on a land that doesn't come into play tapped, for like all colorless. Like you don't have to ever not tap. You never have to tap out for that. And you never have to have a tempo disadvantage. Just end of the turn if they didn't play anything meaningful. Animate my land and then just start swinging in. And now you're on a clock.
Okay,
That's
fair.
better than any man land they've printed in like ever.
Okay, but
except
I would argue a little bit with that, just because in Legacy they don't run that. They run the blue-black.
well, they're in Do they run Colonnade? Or do
They
just run
normally
the
play Mishra's Workshop and Mutavault.
Or
Factory, not Workshop.
There's also at least a few years back when Star City did other Legacy coverage that I watched, which is a very specific time period, I know. The green-black one from Zendikar, the blue-black one from Zendikar saw a lot of play. Now maybe that's
creeping
because,
carpet.
but that might just be
It's
because of
unblockable.
Yeah, Tarpid's fine, but I think normally you were closer to you wanted to play like Mutavault since that came into play untapped, and like the problem with that is you have to invest the mana in it every turn.
Mm-hmm. So
but that was definitely a card that has seen a bunch of play whenever it's been legal.
So something, I mean, where do we feel that Wizards is doing a good job on control finishers? Are they too much right now? Have they been too much and needed toned down? Because I think we had some Aetherling opinions from a previous episode that I wanted to make sure we talked about.
I think Aetherling and Morphling are on the side of too good, and I think Dream Trawler is on the side of not quite unfair enough. Like, Dream Trawler is definitely a beat. I probably said that completely wrong. I think Dream Trawler is exactly where we want to be. Maybe it could be a little bit better, but it's definitely on the side of this is fine for a control finisher. It's not over the top, unbeatable like Aetherling and Morphling felt like.
Say that to my mono red deck, man. That card is trash.
Yeah, Dream Trawler is a beating, but it's not quite to the point of if they resolve it, the game's just.
No, there are some nice options, particularly because if you're almost there and they play it, okay, I'll play a kill spell, or I'll try to steal it from you. Yeah, you're going to discard a card and tap it and give it hexproof, but now it's tapped, and I at least have a turn where it's tapped. Or you just go right over it with Embercleave because that card is the nuts.
Yeah, Embercleave is stupid good. I agree.
Yeah, I love that magic card. So
that I always forget that's always an out to some finishers is just go over the top and just kill your opponent. Then you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, which Embercleave's really good at doing. Honestly, I don't disagree. I would much rather live in a world where we're seeing big creatures that you can kind of interact with. As control finishers as opposed to lands. I don't love it when man lands are control finishers. We might be having that back because we're going back to Zendikar, so I would bet dollars to donuts we're getting some man lands come Zendikar.
We're not getting fetches.
We aren't getting fetches. So I like the world we live in right now. I generally agree with how Wizards designs sets, but I like planeswalkers. I like big mid-rangey things. I like interactive stuff like that where I can be like, oh, there's your dumb control finisher, but I have something I can do, or I can try to burn you out of a resource, be it cards in hand or some other thing, so you don't just get this thing permanently forever. What kind of world would you all prefer to live in?
Personally, speaking on the control side of the table, I'm a much bigger fan of playing lands as my win condition. I really like playing Nephalia Drownyard, and I like playing Castle Arvindale, because there's less ways that your opponent can interact, and it puts you in a position where if I think it was Lily that said it earlier, when your opponent doesn't do something meaningful, all right, I've got a 1/1 soldier.
Okay. So you the opposite of me, basically.
Yeah, like I'm not I'll play Dream Trawler begrudgingly, but I really don't like having to invest mana in some stupid creature past the turn and wait to kill my opponent, as opposed to just being able to get the incremental advantage that the castle or Drownyard. Like, I was a big fan of playing Drownyard because it felt like people always misplayed that card.
Like, the control decks always misplayed it?
My opponents, at least, yeah, and people generally played around it in the wrong way. Like, normally people looked at it like, oh, whoever gets the first Drownyard activation is going to win. No. Whoever plays the most Drownyards wins, and I'm maxing out.
Okay.
That's at least one example that I remember from a PTQ.
What a compelling mirror match, can I say?
Oh, Lord.
I had a lot of fun with those mirror matches, and a lot of it came down to game 2 and game 3. I remember playing the mirror against Shannon McLenithan, and it came down to who resolved the last Psychic Spiral. And that game was like, I started getting visibly angry during that match. But that being said, I actually had fun with it. I thought it was a pretty good match. I also might be biased.
That sounds miserable. JC, I know you don't play a ton of like 1v1 competitive. Do you have where do you come down on control finishers?
So I kind of like control finishers, and let me kind of tell you why. So I don't play a lot of blue control. I play against a lot of blue control because that just tends to be the opponents I play against. Hey, I'm not calling you out. Not too bad at Tuberte. But I mean, you do kind of play that. I kind of get it. So like, I do like to build very like green, red, but I like to build like in a kind of tempo where I'm building to something bigger and bigger and bigger until I just like I like to ramp and then put this big fuck all creature out. And I feel like it is kind of the same kind of thing, but for like blue and white and like control is that they're keeping a tempo, they're building an engine, and they're getting to a point where they're just going to like slowly crush you into dust with this thing that is mildly evasive. I think it's what makes control decks work. I think what makes them interesting to play against, and I'm kind of fine with it being a thing, even if it frustrates me from time to time.
And that's actually probably another topic that you bring up that I didn't even think about is yeah, so the control finisher, they are going to try to slam down. Generally, they have flash, or they try to get it down while they can keep doing other stuff. The aggro or mid-range or ramp decks are just trying to throw down something else, and so sometimes we get stuff. And I guess we kind of talked about it last week, or I guess 2 weeks ago, where you talked about just like, okay, I'm going to try to ramp to like a 8-drop with hexproof and something else that you can interact with control deck. Screw you. And those are kind of they're similar in a way I didn't really think about, because yeah, you're both trying to get to your dumb thing that Wizards has added a bunch of things that are hard to interact with, but
exactly, I'm trying to get to Zakaba, who has vigilance and reach and trample and is gigantic and can machine gun all your.
You can interact with Zakama. Zakama doesn't have hexproof. Zakama isn't uncounterable. Zakama doesn't have indestructible. Like, you can interact with that card. It changes fundamentally when it's on the board, but you can interact with it, and it makes it fundamentally a different thing than the dumbass fucking trample hexproof. Yeah, there we go.
But Carnage Tyrant kind of reminded me of the decks from Rise of the Eldrazi, where you would actually try to ramp out to the Titans, because those are another one. It's like, okay, I got a cast trigger. I also have a huge creature that has all. You probably can't target with any of your removal. Deal with this control deck. I shot my load. But that's not really a control finisher. That's more of a. I guess ramp finishers are probably their own thing. I don't want to go too far off.
Yeah, ramp finishers are their own thing, but I think there's also something to be said for like. Yeah, evasion typically comes in the forms of like flying, hexproof, things that flicker and things like that. But I think there is some level of it's hard to interact with things that are big fuck all that have like weird mechanics. Like Polyraptor also comes to mind, where it's kind of like, yeah, you can interact with it if you want to make a bunch more fucking Polyraptors.
Yeah, no, then like the red, then like yeah, so the red deck goes, okay, that's something I don't get to deal with anymore. But then the black or white deck just goes, okay, I kill it. So yeah, no, it's one of those.
Well,
finishers,
so like,
I feel like sorry. Finishers just feel like, I guess, yeah, we're on a tiny little wedge of the whole finisher discussion. But Lily, sorry, please go ahead.
I apologize. I got far afield.
No, that's okay. To touch on Polyraptor real quick, I feel like that's a good example of a card that might as well say protection from red, but doesn't, which I like as a game design.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point.
Yes, it might as well.
But so when I'm talking about finishers, right? So I don't like the finishers where you can commit to the board, where you get to commit to the board and refill your hand at the same time. Like, I think those are things that a control deck should have to make a decision about. I don't like Hydroid Crazes, for example. I don't like that you can spend your turn, take the same turn that you're spending playing a big threatening creature to close the game, and refill your hand to sustain the rest of the game. At least with Sphinx's Rev, well, you didn't actually have to cast it on your turn, but like at least with Sphinx's Rev, you're doing one of those things. At least with like a big giant finishy creature, even like Morphling or Etherling, like you're still doing one or the other. I don't like how Dream Trawler draws you cards when it attacks.
What about like Torrential Gearhulk?
I think Gearhulk, same idea. You're double dipping. I don't think in one color you should get to do both things at once. I think blue especially, and probably white to some degree, should have to go to an additional color to be able to double dip. Like I don't know.
No, I don't disagree with it. No, as someone who's generally playing aggro, I find it very frustrating to go like, if they gain a bunch of life, it's like, okay, that's a pain in the butt. They send me back some turns. Or if they commit to the board, it's like, I've got to kill that. I've got to get around it. I've got to steal it. I've got to do something. But if they do both, it's like, and okay, you played a 5/6, you blocked my creature, and then you drew a bunch of cards, or you killed another one of my creatures. I guess, okay, cool. I lose.
Or like an angel from Return to Ravnica that exiled 3 things when it came to play.
Oh, that card was real
Even
good.
if you then answer it, they're still bounced. Like, It's good. It's good because it does the two things at once. You don't have, it's the same problem with the deck with where all your cards have flash, where you don't have to make a decision. With the control finisher that either draws you cards or answers permanents, you don't have to make a decision about closing the game out or keeping your opponent from closing the game out. And I think that's the fundamental gameplay element that control decks strive like rotate around, and I think undercutting that is damaging to the design of the game.
Okay.
But what about like Frost Titan? Because I feel like that's doing a kind of thing where yeah, Dave, go ahead. You have something.
Well, in regards to Frost Titan in general and just the Titans, I think the Titans themselves were probably just too good.
Yeah. I don't think I think that's hard to disagree with.
That's fair.
Every color getting a 6/6 for 6 with an ATB trigger and an attack trigger is a lot.
But that was a relic of the, because those came out after Jade. A lot of it was, we want people to be able to have spells that even if your opponent immediately answers them with a Doomblade or bouncing them with Jays, they still did something. And Frost Titan tap something down. I guess that's probably the least exciting of them. But Frost Titan also kind of protected itself too.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
does
it
Frost
had
Titan
some
fall
evasion.
does Frost Titan fall into that list for you?
So the effect is a little weak. The effect is weaker mana-wise than any of the other. So like Frost Titan, that's like a 1 mana effect. Like tapping down a permanent is like
Doesn't it
maybe
do
a
two?
1 blue and 1 effect. Does it do two things or does it one?
So it taps something down and it stays tapped.
Right. No.
But it also protects itself by countering something unless they pay an extra 2 mana.
Right, but that's what it has instead of like vigilance, haste. and
Okay,
all that.
yeah.
Okay.
Do we have some echo going right now?
Yes.
Do we still have
Somebody
echo going?
had the stream on their feed.
Oh, okay.
My apologies.
Okay,
No, that's
we're
okay.
good. We good.
So Frost Titan, that's protection. That's basically worse hexproof, right? So let's look at it like that. But the tap down ability, it's tapping down one thing, right? That's like a 1 blue, maybe 1 blue and 1 colorless on a sorcery effect. The black one makes 2 zombies. That's like 3 or 4 mana. The green one gets you 2 lands of any type. That's like 3 or 4 mana. The red one's 3 divided you choose. That's like 3 mana. Like all of these effects, Sun Titan, that's like a 3 or 4 mana effect, getting a cheap thing back from your graveyard. Like the blue one had the weakest trigger. So like that was probably fine. But I don't feel like the blue one double dipped because like the tapping down is weaker. It's not a permanent removal. It's not like a capital A answer. It's all right, well, I can keep one thing tapped down with this if I keep attacking, but if they have any way to deal with this or they play another threat, I'm going to have to respond. I would say it does fall into that category, Brett, but it's not as egregious as Torrential Gearhole.
Yeah,
or,
that guy was nuts.
Cool. Thank you for a long answer on that. I was wondering if that fell into that kind of category for you. No, honestly, I was curious what you had to say about it.
So okay, I want to. I did not keeping track of the time of this episode, which I should be. But do we want to? I want to kind of pivot onto a similar topic for our last one. Do we have anything we want to say on control finishes before we talk about shields down moments? Because we're going to kind of keep talking about control finishers a little bit here. So
right, that's why we ordered these. Okay,
so let's truck along, and then if we need to come back to anything, we can. So
Brett, you're ruining the natural segues.
I really like to talk about. I like the topics laid out. I know I should just segue better, but I think the audience has come to expect me signposting the hell out of. Okay, next topic. Anyway, next
number 5.
Number 3. 3. Anyway, number 3. So I don't know if I think I'm using the correct term here. So this is something that Morrow talks about in creating shields down moments, and so the one that we talked about in the last segment, Dream Trawler, is if you target it. Well, you don't have to target it. The controller can discard a card, give it hexproof, and tap it. And so another one that I was facing on Brawling with Brett yesterday is a card that I totally forgot's in Standard. Idea of Wizards, instead of saying this creature says tap this creature, tap down target creature, it says pay 2 and tap, because they want to have an opportunity that the controller of that tapping creature has to decide, do I need to spend all my mana or do I need to keep 2 up? And so this is something that I've noticed happening way more in the past 5-ish years of design, and I'm a huge fan of it. I like having extra mana costs or extra costs going in. And I think that's a really good spot to have at design. I think it makes limited better. I think it makes standard better. I'm a huge fan of this, but I think it's kind of a different paradigm of design. Lily, you're a little closer to the ground on the design stuff. Do you feel like my assessment is accurate here, or am I just rambling?
I mean, it's a different kind of design. That's sure. That's for sure. I mean, it's not Simic Sky Swallower. It's not. I mean, yeah, these big creatures that are just unanswerable. It's not Inkwell Leviathan. I mean, you have to put in resources to protect them, so they're weaker. But then they also give them more upside that I think undercuts them being like. I don't know. I don't like how. Like, I wish they would just commit to making the like finishers that go in the more control-y decks a little worse, just in general. Like,
so do you feel like it's like Dream Trawler is not worse enough? Because like it creates
Yeah.
moments where you can interact with the board still.
right? No, I understand that it does. I just like if it made it so you like if it didn't draw you a card when it attacks, I think it'd be fine.
Okay.
Because I mean, then basically it pays for itself. It's like it not just pays for itself, but then it filters your card draw. Like you're still not really you're still double dipping on okay, we're gonna abstract into another kind of game here. It double dips on like if you action economy. If you look at what is the thing that someone can do on their turn, you know, they can play a relevant spell, which would be a spell that has like a CMC that's in line with the turn of the game, something like that, right? Or that spell can like deal with a creature. It can draw them, get them more resources. It can put pressure on the board. I think those are the big things. And I think double dipping on 2 of those 3 categories leads to gameplay that is very hard to come back from once you are behind. And I think it leads to bad play experiences too. Like if you're behind and they have Dream Trawler on the board, they're just going to keep getting further ahead.
Yeah, you have a couple turns, I think, to try to. If you're playing another deck with removal spells, you have a couple turns to be like, okay, I need to basically every one of your kill spells turns into a tap spell to their finisher for a couple turns. So you might have a couple turns, but yeah, I'd agree. Once you hit turn 3, turn 4, you're not getting in there. So yeah, Dave, have you noticed a change in how they make stuff, creating more of these moments, or am I finding patterns when there isn't a pattern here?
It feels like we've always had something along these lines of creatures that protect themselves of these control finishers. I don't necessarily see that there's too much of a shift in that, if that makes sense.
Okay, because I think that it's not just control finishers where we're going to end up seeing this kind of these weird shields down moments. I feel like it comes in to play with a lot of limited cards.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Dave. I think there's always been kind of this realm of thing. I don't know if they're going more in this direction or not, but.
And I actually wanted to get your and Dave's opinion in particular, JC, because you guys played before I played and have played you played inconsistently throughout, and then Dave is a dinosaur.
Yeah, he's played Magic since the days of yore.
Yeah.
Dinosaur.
I was hoping that one of you was going to start singing that Kesha song, but we can save that for the post show.
Oh, please, which catch? No, anyway, post show.
CINA.
I don't know any music that came out before the year after
Damn
the
it.
year 1990.
I'm
Dave,
bad at
so
spelling.
I'm sorry.
We all established that.
But I don't know. It feels like there's more of. I don't know if I'm just seeing more of this, but I think we're also just seeing cards that are like. I get regenerate kind of functioned like this, but I feel like we're seeing way more like pay a cost and give this thing hexproof or indestructible temporarily. A lot more than we're seeing cards that just have indestructible or hexproof. So like, because I mean, like, I feel like that stupid lion from the first Theros, the one that once it was monstrous, it was just indestructible.
The colored one.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
just indestructible and hexproof.
Watch
And
roll
now-
for upside.
Yeah, but so now we have our Watchwolf with Upside back in New Theros, but it's an activation. You've got to pay green and 1 to give it indestructible, as opposed to meeting a threshold and then okay, now it always has this thing. And so I feel like we're getting way more cards like that, which I prefer, don't get me wrong, the Timmy in me really just screams for indestructible hexproof things that you guys can't interact with. But so I'm kind of a fan of this, but I don't know where you if it's just making cards seem more watered down or worse. Because I mean, it's hard to compare. Like if I had to pick between wanting the current Theros better Watchwolf to old Theros better Watchwolf, I'd rather run the old Theros one because that seems better to me. But I don't know. I also don't know if nobody just has strong opinions about this topic.
I mean, I have strong opinions about everything.
Fair.
I do. I think about this a lot. So from like a game design standpoint, right?
Mhm.
And again, I just want to clarify on something, Dave. My issue with like Dream Trawler is not necessarily the discarding cards. Like the protecting itself is fine. I don't like that it draws cards. It's like if Etherling had an enters the battlefield draw card ability with like a discard a card as a cost on the flicker. Like it would be annoying. It would be like you're just getting the resource back and then you're filtering. But anyway, sorry. Moving on to your thing with the design, right? With the lion versus old lion. That is more, one of them is more responsive than the other. So with the new lion, you're always on the defensive, right? You're always like, I'm going to wait for them to deal with it, and then I'm going to do this. With the old one, it was kind of this hand like hovering around the pistols kind of moment where it's like, I need to wait until they go to kill it to make it monstrous so that it can be protected. But if I do it and they try to kill it in response, well, that sucks because it's like 5 mana, I think, to make it monstrous.
It was 4 or 5. Yeah, no, so yeah, that kind of that standoff. It's
right.
And I feel like having it be a repetitive activation that doesn't stick around is. I feel like that's more new player friendly, because I feel like if you're new, you go, okay, here's my 3/3 for 2, and if I pay 5 mana now, it's indestructible. So when they go to make it indestructible and hexproof, then they kill it, and then you go like, oh, that sucks.
Yeah,
Oh, go ahead.
So the design difference I see there. So with the old one, it's easy to blow someone out if they don't know if they're playing it right. With the new one, your new player will not want to activate it until something is going to kill it, and then the person trying to kill it would have to then have a second spell to get that same kind of blowout, and even then it's a 2-for-1. Like it's not ideal, and it is more new player friendly. Because I think the older one was probably stronger, but it's easy to like. It's more of a mind game with your opponent, which is not what new players like or do.
No, and so I'm really happy with this kind of shift in design, and it's sometimes a bummer because we used to just get creatures that said tap target creature, and now we get creatures that say pay 2 and tap target creature, or we get. I think the wolves are a really good example of this. Or instead of getting something that just had indestructible, we go, it has indestructible some of the times. Or like the mana druid that's seeing a ton of play, the 2/1 for 2, the elf. It has hexproof, but it doesn't always have hexproof.
Right.
And so go ahead.
So I think what they're doing design-wise is leaning more into opportunity cost as a mechanic than they used to. So like doing one thing precludes you from doing another thing. These tap abilities that take mana preclude you from using that mana on other things. And yes, they are weaker, but I think they do create more compelling gameplay when not only, you have the shields down moment where the elf taps, now you can target it, now you can deal with it, but also you for sure get your mana from it, which is different than if it didn't have hexproof at all. It's like there's a push and pull there, but then so there's an opportunity cost to using it as you make it vulnerable. There's an opportunity cost for playing a big spell on your opponent's turn to deal with a threat, because the thing that you are dealing with now your guy on board that uses mana to tap something you can't do that. There's opportunity costs, and I generally think opportunity cost leads to better gameplay. That's why I always rail on you guys about like making sure we don't have too many skills in role-playing games, because that's the opportunity cost in that system.
No,
I think I agree on this, because I think there's a level of simplistic gameplay, and I feel like, and Dave, you can correct me on this, really. I feel like there are a lot of older cards, if we're getting back to older Magic, where they just had the ability. So yeah, they just had like the hexproof, or they just had protection from this, or they just had regenerate. Like they just had it. There wasn't like a big cost to it. And I feel like Lily's making a good point there in that it creates a little bit more compelling gameplay because not only is your opponent forced to like with the simpler cards, your opponent's forced to deal with that and just acknowledging that it has that and that it's annoying that you got to play around it. But when it takes a cost to activate it and the other player is interacting with it, like they're thinking about how much mana they got to keep open. They're thinking about the opportunity costs, like you were saying, and that creates like this ability for the opponent to kind of play with it in a different way without like looking at it as just an obstacle on the board that I have to deal with. It's more an obstacle that I have to deal with sometimes, and it creates more interaction between the two players.
Because I love the idea. Is like, okay, they've got a tapper down that they've got to pay 2 mana and they can tap my huge stupid creature. But I also know they're probably going to try to counter something. So it lets me go, okay, do I attack and see if they'll tap down my creature, and then that'll enable me to second main phase play something, or do I jam a spell that I go, you better run a counter this, and then I don't know. I kind of like having that option as the player. Dave, I know you kind of shift more to the control side of this, so I feel like this benefits the more aggressive player or the newer player or the mid-rangier or aggro-ier player. Where do you are you okay with how the design has shifted here, or do you miss the olden days back when creatures were terrible?
Well, the problem is, like, most of the time you're going to try and win the game with a creature anyway, so it's a double-edged sword. I mean, it means I don't try and win the game with Sarah Angel, or Baneslayer Angel for that matter. Well, I'd rather play Baneslayer Angel than play Sarah Angel in almost every single instance. Yeah, it's a bold statement. It's a bold statement.
That's so brave.
It's definitely a double-edged sword. I get to play Lyra, I get to play Baneslayer Angel, but then my opponent also gets to play much, much better creatures. They're not stuck on playing things like Lord of the Pit and Shivan Dragon. Keep in mind, these creatures are coming to mind because I was watching a buddy of mine streaming Chandelar earlier this week. So, the old bad creatures are fresh in my mind. But they get to play better creatures like Bobarigmos, which is arguably...
Which one?
Or like the good one? Or Rurikthar.
No one is
Bobarigmos Raged or like Rurikthar. Which, God, yeah, just count on one hand how many times you've lost to Rurikthar. But the fact that they get to have better creatures has definitely shifted the game. Like, I don't think the control's unplayable. Oh, goodness, right. You guys all play Commander, never mind.
Yeah, Brett used to have Rurikthar deck as a deck.
It's
during that standard, it was fun.
I'm all about Rurikthar. Let's fight with creatures. None of this bullshit spell garbage. Let's fight.
No, that's why I brought Carador to the table every time.
Like warriors.
I can honestly say that I have lost to Rurikthar in every format except for Vintage and Pioneer. Because I haven't played against it in Pioneer yet.
Is he legal in Pioneer? He is.
Oh yeah, he is.
Yeah,
for sure. But the point being, so control finishers have gotten better, but creatures in general have gotten better, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have I don't know. I have a thing about that too. With the, of course I do, but with the control finishers being better, I like. So I think it's important that control finishers finish the game well. And I think when you have control finishers that don't finish the game, it is like objectively worse for everyone at the table. Like your Sarah Angel, it's like if you haven't done anything, it's a 5-turn clock. It's like at that point they've already lost, and you're just kind of like, why are we still at this table? Whereas like with the new stuff, you actually end the game, and I think that's good on the whole.
Yeah, and I mean, like, I will often, I like where Magic is now. I like living in this world where design has changed, design has shifted. I like New World Order. I like how they do control finishers now. I like these creating these shields down moments. I'm a big fan of how the game has moved on. I know there's definitely people who aren't as big of fans of who prefer Magic how it used to be, but I'm just a really like I'm happy with what they're doing.
Yeah, I mean, for the folks that really like the old school Magic, we have literally a format called Old School where they can play their Juggernauts and Sarah Angels if they want to.
Is there any format you play Leviathan? Oh my gosh, it just seems so bad.
No.
Just to call out Kieran in the chat, but Mind Gaming, my opponent, is so fun. Like just playing these like weird mind games and stuff like that, where you get a lot more opportunities and interacting. It's sometimes a lot more fun than playing your juggernauts.
Well, and I think I think I saw the mind gaming line come in when we were talking about the two different lion moments.
Right.
The
Yeah.
one lion moment being the when are we having our standoff where I'm going to activate my lion and make it so you can't kill it? Well, I'm going to keep a kill spell up, and it's sometimes maybe it's a little harder to mind game when spells are worse and creatures are better, and you can kind of see on board if my opponent's going to tap me down. I know they're going to have to spend a cost. I think it's a little harder to mind game, and it's every time I see one of those wizard surveys, there's always like I like tricking my opponent, or like I like playing mind games. Kieran just said, so it shows the merit of your opponents. Like I think I don't think that this idea of mind gaming is gone. Certainly there's a lot of that too with counter spells and interactive kill spells and sort of stuff like that. But I feel like it's a little harder to mind game and blow people out. Like I think they're really focusing on reducing those frustrating moments. But I can't remember who said it, but somebody said but a lot of times those higher level players want that. And so I think it's a legitimate argument or a legitimate feeling to kind of miss that more complex, like you need to do this just right or I'm going to blow you the hell out. But at the same time, when you're pushing digital and you're trying to get a bunch of new players, someone might just pick up their cards and leave if you just absolutely dumpster them. So like, I don't know. I feel like Wizards is trying to make that a little bit harder to do, which I'm okay with, but I don't know.
It almost, for whatever reason, my brain immediately went to, would you rather play against Fact or Fiction or Gifts Ungiven?
Oh boy. But see, I feel like both of those cards kind of fall into that mind gamey, complicated.
I'm better at Fact or Fiction.
I would say this. I think that when my opponent plays a Fact or Fiction against me, they're going to get a lot of value, and I think it's very skill intensive. If my opponent's playing Gifts Ungiven against me, the game.
So you cut out a little bit. The game's over, you said?
Yeah. Like if someone's playing Gifts Ungiven, they're not going to play a fair Gifts Ungiven. They're going to play Gifts Ungiven where they're going to get exactly what they want / need. Whereas Fact or Fiction, they could have a bad Fact or Fiction. It doesn't mean that the game's over. We're still interacting with one another in a meaningful.
Yeah, I actually that actually. I think we're running a little long in the show. So if you want to stick into the post show or check out the post show, if you're watching this on the regular release, we're going to talk about that new 3-2 for 3 that does the Fact or Fiction where your opponent only get there's face up and face down piles. But because I think
my commander currently for Brawl.
Yes. So we're going to talk about that in the post show, but I want to wrap things up here. Does anyone have any final thoughts, control finishers, or the kind of shields down design that Wizards is doing more of? Any final thoughts before we roll into the post show? Okay, I'm getting crickets. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry if we had some live stream technical issues. At the very least, we're going to try to make sure we get all the content up. It'll definitely be in the main show, and we'll see if we can do it for the Patreon people too. I'll talk to Tam after the show. But thank you all for tuning in, particularly our live people, bugging us in chat. It is awesome to get to actually talk to you, and I have my whole screen dedicated to chat now. It is blown up so I can actually read it. So we love it when you guys watch live. Tell your friends. We really appreciate it, and you can share that link even to people who aren't Patreons. We don't want to do it that much, but if there's somebody you want to show the show to off, you could maybe do that, or maybe I'm going to get yelled at from Tam for telling you that. So ignore me if I'm not supposed to tell you all that. But thank you all for tuning in. We appreciate it. We're going to keep going to the post show. We will catch you all next week, and check out me and Dave's streams throughout the week if you want to. Have a good one. Stay safe. And remember who you are.